I see Payload's vision towards process automation, analytics-based decision support, and paperless touch-free future. I see that as the path forward for many companies. And especially in Alberta, I think that is what that combination will put us at the forefront as a global competitor. And we need that in order to compete on a global scale, because it's not just about what's happening within our own backyard, it's about what's happening in the world around us and how we're going to compete at that level. If I were to give one piece of advice based on my experiences and based on what I've learned over the years, it's probably the ability to be adaptable and be ready to pivot, because you start with a great vision and often that vision is changed over time. But in the SaaS companies that you're going to find, for instance, it's really not about the skills that you have so much anymore. It's really about the attitude and what a cultural fit you are, because there's a lot of intelligent people out there. Have that portfolio, show what you can do, engage in the community, do some stuff, and then the rest will follow. As Calgarians, we have a unique perspective of the world. I think that perspective is largely a go-getter and successful, success-seeking rather, type of perspective and attitude. I think that we should leverage that to help those around us get on their feet, and we need to stand up as leaders within our communities and businesses to make things go forward and make things happen. And that's the legacy I want to leave from behind, is just help make the world a little bit better place.
Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Startup Impact. I am Shivi, your host for the show, and today we have none other than but one of the pioneer of the tech industry, the CEO of Payload, Chris Lambert, with us. Chris' passion for people, technology, and business compels Chris to find solutions to challenging business problems using intelligent technological solutions and backed by world-class team. Chris' career includes 8 years of executive and leadership position with 20 plus years of product development in various industries. So please help me in welcoming the technology leader, mentor, speaker with the entrepreneurial spirit, Chris Lambert. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I am excited to have you today.
Well, thank you, Shivi, and thank you for your very generous introduction. I'm not sure if I quite meet up to all of them, but I'll certainly try.
Oh, you're amazing, Chris. Whenever I had a discussion with you, I always go back with so much of learnings and motivation. You are a mentor to me. So I'm really glad to have you today, Chris. And Chris, you are the technology leader in Calgary. So you coming with the background of technology and software, where you have worked across different industry, there is nobody better than you to ask this question out here, which we all want to know is, how does technology is going to shape the future of Calgary, and especially after the global pandemic of 2020, how do you see that technology is going to play a role in improving Calgary's future markets?
Well, thanks for the question, Shivi. Before really addressing this, I think we need to talk a little bit about Calgary itself. And let's talk about a few little factoids, if you will, on Calgary and how we fit. So, I mean, obviously, Calgary is a fantastic city. It's certainly one of my favorites. I've been here most of my life, either living in Calgary or the Cochrane area. And when I look at the business landscape in this area, there's some really interesting things I don't think people are aware of, but start to put things into perspective. So one of those is that if you look at overall in Canada, you look at all the cities, Calgary actually has more head offices per capita than any other Canadian city. So we're at 100, I think about 117, right? So last count anyhow. And what that really says to me is that we do have a large concentration of big heads in the room, if you will, in a positive way, thinkers, innovators, from the entrepreneurial kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And a lot of that heart beats in Calgary itself. And then a few other things to think about. We have the second highest small business concentration of major cities in Canada, which is pretty phenomenal. You think that about the fact that this is really Western Canada's distribution hub. We have three major companies, the Highway 1, all of that corridor coming through, and so we see a lot of business, certainly on the logistics side, coming through here. And then to couple that with our Calgary airport, right? We have connections, something like 100 or more destinations, and some of these include direct flights to places like Paris, Mexico, Beijing. So really impressive for our little cow town, if you will. Not so little anymore. I'm getting older, so I remember things a little further back. But and when you think about logistics itself, and the reach of Calgary, there's over 50 million people accessible by ground transportation within a 24-hour radius of Calgary, something to that magnitude. So that's something to really think about. The reach physically alone in this area, and that really impacts a lot of business that we do. Certainly, when we talk about agribusiness and things like oil and gas and whatnot, all of these businesses, of course, that type of reach and that type of accessibility has a huge impact. So, with all of that said, with those little factoids, when you start to piece it all together, you start to paint a picture where Calgary's business, Calgary's economy has always included a high concentration of these key businesses such as oil and gas, transportation and logistics, agribusiness, and you start to see that all of these things put together really makes Calgary a very desirable destination for business to really start to seed, to germinate, and to grow.
Yeah.
And couple that with the fact that we have a rise in entrepreneurial activity, supported by some great organizations locally. Things like organizations like ATB has business and entrepreneurial type sessions. They support the community very well. You have government-based or backed organizations like the Tech Terras, Alberta Innovates, the IRAPs, and of course, not to be biased or anything, but the Workland Family Office has been a large supporter of industry and local business here in the Calgary area. So we have some really good, we have a really good hand dealt to us, if you will, and I think that puts us in a great position. So how do I see Calgary's tech system, our tech ecosystem, if you will, evolving? How do I see the world changing within this local space for us? Well, what I see is, we have a few things that are key here. But first of all, the oil and gas industry as a whole is really being challenged to evolve. It's being challenged to find more efficiencies, and many of these are through technologies. So we're looking at everything from new drilling technologies, electronic logging type devices, automation, carbon footprint type reporting. All of these things are either competitive advantages or regulatory requirements. These are different pieces of part of a larger puzzle. So certainly in the oil and gas industry, all of these things start to play into how are we, and by we I mean the oil and gas industry, going to move forward and reduce the manual touch points, increase automation, reduce error, reduce our wait times, and how do we make all of this happen in a more cost-effective way, all the while improving upon creating high-value jobs within Alberta and progressing the needle forward, moving the needle forward for us. So I think really that whole piece and how that whole piece is going to evolve centers around digitizing and digitalization, right? So going forward, those two kind of concepts really play into it. And I think the other piece there, the X factor, is an increased focus on full stack automation, tighter integration, more seamless integration between these disparate systems. So those are some key pieces. Also, we have a global pandemic we're all aware of now, painfully, and have been for last year. And it's forced people out of the office. It's made them more dependent on technology in order to perform their jobs and to keep moving forward. Uh, this really though starts to herald some ideas that 10 years ago were starting to become popular, and I think with what recent events have helped to highlight and what we've seen transpire, it's really highlighted the need now for that need for touchless type solutions, that need for automation in other areas, the need for paperless type processes, because there's not just the standby kind of value add, which was always increased efficiencies, reduced costs. All of these things are absolutely true, and they do have a big impact on a business's ability to succeed and compete. However, we're also seeing other environmental factors highlighted in recent months, in the recent year, that start to show how all of these pieces from the technology perspective can help to create a better society in terms of how we interact and how quickly we interact, and the ease of which that we can deliver important services and aid to people, and of course conduct our businesses. So those are some of the key bits that come to mind. A couple other pieces for me is, I'm speaking from the perspective of Payload here, but Payload really has been hip deep in this space and this problem for a while now, and really what we're about is helping to optimize and really assist on the moving of goods from point A to point B, right? So things like digitizing the field ticketing process. We also digitize the regulatory manifests that a lot of our customers need to work with. And what this all adds up to from the Payload perspective is making our customers less reliant on paper, less dependent on older processes, and it really allows them to expedite things. So I think that as a whole, how the Calgary ecosystem is going to evolve is really running parallel to where Payload and its vision, our vision, has certainly been, and that really means things like you gain all the transparency that you never had before. You have that full visibility then into those field operations, and that really helps to reduce disputes. It creates faster vendor payments. It means less waste classification issues, all sorts of things. You can go down the list of the impact. And really what it all comes to for me is I see Payload's vision towards process automation, analytics-based decision support, and paperless touch-free future. I see that as the path forward for many companies. And especially in Alberta, I think that is what that combination will put us at the forefront as a global competitor. And we need that in order to compete on a global scale, because it's not just about what's happening within our own backyard. It's about what's happening in the world around us and how we're going to compete at that level. And to do that, we need to have those more enhanced decision making assistance, or even AI-based decision making to help us speed up, drive down costs, create those efficiencies. We need that process automation to make things, keep things moving faster, and keep things moving correctly and safely.
Right.
And finally, like again, the third point being the paperless, touch-free. It just creates a much smoother path forward, instead of having all of the old standby, old processes that create additional cost and hindrances, and frankly a lot of data quality issues. So that's really my thought, my take on how
Wow.
I see the Calgary tech system evolving.
Right. Thank you so much, Chris, for giving us the complete perspective, starting from what Calgary has been the industries, how it is going to evolve, and especially in the terms of technology and what Payload has a role to play in it. So thank you so much, Chris, for sharing your wisdom with us. One thing that you said and you talked about is the importance of digitizing and digitalizing, if I'm saying it correct. So,
Yeah, it's a it's a real tongue twister, right?
right.
Um,
Is there a difference between two? Like, is it like the same thing? Is it a difference? And if it is like you mentioned that Payload has an important part to play in it, so what does Payload has to do with digitizing and digitalizing?
well, so I mean, yeah, there is a difference between the two, and my caveat up front is that to be honest, I think as human beings we like to create terms, and I find especially in the technology industry. We seem to create new terms every second year as a catchphrase so that people can invest in that, get excited about the new term, right? And I must say I'm always a bit skeptical, but in this case, I think it's a fair differentiation to make actually, because it really describes, in my mind, a different mindset as much as it does a different approach to tackling a similar problem. Right? It's two sides of the same coin, and really at its simplest, digitizing is taking like a paper form, making it digital. It's taking an existing process, and it's converting it into a digital one, right? And this is very effective for customers who have requirements. Maybe they have regulatory mandates that mean they have to follow a certain set of procedures and policies. They do not have the flexibility of reinventing, flipping things on their head, as it were. So that's really what digitizing is about. Now, digitalizing really is a term that we use to talk about changing a business model or process to create efficiencies based on that technology. So a good example with digitizing is, again, taking a application form, if you will, and just making it digital, and then it goes through the same process and steps that it would. So maybe you have a person manually reviewing it, saying here's the pass fail validation, stuff like that. uh, Digitalizing would be more along the lines of, well, maybe we don't have to use that same process. Maybe we can uh, utilize an existing service that takes in these application forms, and they do the validation and vetting, and then they just plug it into our system, and then we choose from a pool of candidates or something to that effect. So it's kind of an on-the-fly example, so I apologize, but that is the essence of it, if you will. Is one is predicated on existing processes, the other is a herald of change for an organization utilizing digital technologies. Now, there are some things to consider, and as I said, there are certain constraints organizations have to deal with. Right? A good example for us is Payload actually does both. We both digitize and digitalize, and by that I mean, if you look at what we do as an organization, we drive a lot of transparency into your field operations, and a huge amount of that data can give you insights into the efficacy of that business, of your business, and when you work with our platform. But then those insights you can implement within the business, and they can start to save considerable time and money from that high quality data that you're going to get from our system. You can use all of this to then rethink, and then people talk about digital transformation, another catchphrase that's popular these days, right? And so that digital transformation really at its heart comes down to how can you leverage the technologies around you in a way that reinvents the organization to run more efficiently and more cost effectively. And you know, for me, those things are always very important. But I've always been a people first a type of a leader, and that's how I feel. That's my personal ethos, if you will. And so when I think about these technologies, I don't just think about the savings to to the bottom line or the cost, the operational efficiencies. These are critical, and they're absolutely important in our time.
Right.
But I really genuinely believe that people have a even greater impact. And nothing beats a highly motivated, respected team that actually has not just a like but a love for the place they work and the people they
Exactly.
work
Right.
with.
The
So to
values.
me, digitalization is really predicated on how can we create a more holistic experience for the
Mhm.
people involved? How can we create an environment where people can really thrive?
Mhm.
And that to me is one of the bigger opportunities there.
Wow, Chris, thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, you are known as people first, no doubt on that. So, Chris, saying that you did mention that in the start when we were talking about it is the entrepreneurial culture that is evolving in Calgary and how most of the people are now transitioning towards more into the entrepreneurial journey. So
Yeah.
you being the industry leader, you being standing from the perspective of, with your experience, with your values around being the people first, what advice would you give to the people who want to transition their career or want to start their own business, especially in the technology field?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. And you know, in my own experience, if I had rewind if I were to rewind the tape back 20 years and answer this question, I think I would have had a very different answer than what I see today. And maybe that's just my own experience. Maybe I just haven't had the pleasure of seeing some of the things that I do now. Maybe it's just wisdom and bumping into a few walls and learning a few things along the way. Probably a combination of the two. What I would say is to anyone looking to really dive in and I think at our heart we all want Alberta to rock. We want to have Alberta at the top of the world. I certainly do. I don't mind wearing that badge on my shoulder. To me, Alberta's number one, and it always will be.
Absolutely.
And how do we keep on top? How do we keep
Mhm.
pushing the envelope as we often have? And I think as an entrepreneur, the first thing you can do is seek help from others. As I said, Calgary has an extremely strong entrepreneurial community. Okay, I've had the pleasure of speaking with folks that you would think are inaccessible. Other CEOs and other entrepreneurs and business owners. And to a man or a woman, I have not had a single person say to me that they don't have the time or that they don't care to help. It's been an amazing experience, and I think that the humanitarian side, if you will, of Calgary's leadership and business community is second to none. So leverage that. You have the backing and the goodwill of so many successful people within this community. Again, the Workland Family Office has been very prominent. ATB, another example, they have workshops to help, right? You need to really seek help from others. You need to learn some of the ropes too. And so that's where that help becomes even more helpful. I've had people help me when I started out, starting a few of my own ventures, just how to write a business model canvas or a business case and figure out how do you structure the language. It's very different from writing a technical document, right? You really have to get in the head of the folks that are reading it and understand what they're looking for and make sure it matches your vision, right? And when you can combine those two and connect them, then you have it's like magic, right? Stuff happens, and when it starts happening,
Yeah.
you need to make sure you're educated in where else to find help, and some of that help comes in the form of funding and grants.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of grants out there. There's a lot of help that you can find. Even some of the local educational institutions are helping entrepreneurs by bundling their graduates with internships that are funded. Uh, Colleges Institute of Canada, so I call it CCAN, has a digital tech internship. You have the WIL program, WIL program, and that's a great one that gives you up to 7,500, I think, for the first 10K on hiring someone. CCAN will give you upwards of 100%, upwards of 30K grant, and they'll reimburse you for all of it, right? So you could have a 6-month internship for 5K a month and get all that back. You have all sorts of organizations like Alberta Innovates, IRAP, Calgary Economic Development. All of these groups are here to help, and they are very good at helping you be successful. So make sure you leverage that. That's the first thing. And then as your business grows, as you start to develop, be flexible, be ready to pivot. And listen, I'm not a business coach per se here, but if I were to give one piece of advice based on my experiences and based on what I've learned over the years, it's probably the ability to be adaptable and be ready to pivot, because you start with a great vision, and often that vision is changed over time. Now, that's not always the case. I mean, I suppose if you're an engineer developing a new type of capacitor, right, that has very, very specific specifications, then maybe that's not going to change. But in my experience, that's far and few between. The vast majority of businesses are businesses where they have product people, they have their development folks, and what they're looking to do is take a vision, make it happen. But during that journey, they grow and they evolve, and the feedback they get from their customers helps shape that eventual destination, if you will. And really engage the local community. So now that you've kind of built up your business, you're ready to pivot, and you've got those grants and you've got the help you need. You're looking to staff up. You're looking for people to help you. I talk to so many people who they'll call me and they'll say, "Hey, do you want to be my CTO? Do you want to be my partner and help me build this stuff?" And look, I would, if I could clone myself, I would love to. There's so many interesting ideas out there, so many cool things. But the reality is, obviously there's only so much a person can do, and that goes with a lot of the leaders out there. So don't think that you have to look for people who are already established or have a track record. Help other people form their own story, help them build their own journey. And I think that you will find that in doing so, you'll find great success. And one of the places to do this is just look in the local community. There's Comet, there's Lighthouse Labs, there's SATE, there's UFC, and many others. And all of these organizations often offer these great internships, and you would be surprised that some of the people coming through these programs, some of them are bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and they're fresh out in the world. Absolutely. And those people are great because often they'll have that passion, and they'll be right with you in terms of pulling the weight, right? But there's also a lot of folks that are retraining and have an interesting background. Often that background can give you some real value in your organization. So yeah, absolutely engage that local community. And I think that those are some of the key bits that I would recommend for anybody looking to do their startup and get going in the Calgary area.
That's beautiful, Chris. Really informative. I'm sure it's going to help so many people out there with the resources that you shared and the step-by-step advice that you laid it out completely. So thank you so much, Chris, for sharing that. Also, Chris, when you talk about entrepreneurship or when you talk about technology, so what are some emerging technologies that we are going to see as Calgary is going to see, and if there is any potential out there that we need to adapt? So, as for you being the industry leader, what do you think are some growing technology out there that, as an entrepreneur or as a job seeker, that we can adapt to or we can learn for it?
Well, I think, yeah, I think to your question, it's almost a larger scope. It's that there's this emerging technology trend in Calgary, and what are the future technologies we see. I actually had a really interesting talk with Dr. Prashant Sothkal, DBP Institute, and we had we had several ideas, and we started with 5, and I think we ended up with 7 or so, because there's so many, and it's difficult to de-scope it and really focus. But there are a lot of really cool future opportunities ahead. I think that, like, let's start with the obvious, right? Data and analytics. I mean, everybody can see this happening. probably the cornerstone of digital transformation for many companies would be defined as resting solely on your business intelligence group or your data scientists, right? And so data and analytics are really a big deal right now. But I think we really have to focus on what is the key value that's coming to your organization. What are the opportunities from data and analytics? Is is it something that you can pinpoint or not? And for me, I think that the key benefits are really predicated on providing decision support and decision automation. So by that, I mean to say, when we look at data and analytics, what is the purpose? Sure, we have all this data. Sure, we can put together some charts, but what are we really driving for? And the obvious one, and the one we're currently really seeing a lot of movement on is that decision support, right? I have X number of widgets that I'm going to buy over the next 12 months. And I want to see a trend to tell me when I can buy them at their cheapest. So maybe I can stockpile them, right? And thereby saving my company 13% year over year on widget cost. So that's a decision support. But then there's decision automation. What if you can go from that to having your own real-time purchasing group and being able to procure the goods and services and do all of this in the background in seconds instead of days or weeks, and without error, and do so with an incredible amount of flexibility, and do so by looking at 1,000 vendors all simultaneously as opposed to 20 or 30. It's exciting. I mean, the possibilities for that are huge. So that's something to really consider. And along those lines, AI itself obviously is another big hot topic, hot ticket item these days. It's a hot topic, and AI, I think in particular, where it's going to find the most traction is not in some of the things you hear, the Cyberdyne, take over the world type approach. I don't really believe that those things are going to be the focus or relevant even in the next decade. I think it's going to be more about taking AI in the business and helping businesses. And I don't mean robots on assembly lines, but maybe your accounting firms, your finance departments, your marketing groups, all your operations groups, having AI help to automate some of the either the mundane tasks or just the even the complex tasks, which are largely data centric or based on database decision making. So really good example of seeing this, and this is actually a bit more advanced, are these chatbots you can get now. So for your support group, maybe you find 80% of the questions you're always answering the same question. Nobody ever reads that beautiful knowledge base you have. They just go right to support, and so you put a chatbot up. It costs you $10 a month. The chatbot can handle this incoming call, and now all of a sudden your support people are dealing with the 20% exception as opposed to the other 80%. And you've probably cut the amount of time that you're spending on support, maybe from 100 hours a week to 20 hours a week. And the best part is now you can plug that 20 hours back into your product group so they can better understand the challenges of your customer, and you can gain value from that instead of having all that noise to sift through. It just permeates throughout the organization and creates inefficiencies everywhere. So, AI, obviously, but those are pretty obvious. Some pieces I think are a bit less obvious, that are big, are third-party tools and middleware integration. So, the world was really centered around enterprise solutions, 15 years ago, 20 years ago when I was doing software development. A lot of opportunity doing that. You can make a lot of money doing SAP integrations and the like, right? And that's great for the consultant, but not so good for the organization. And often those solutions don't lead to a very synergistic conclusion to solving those problems and to optimizing and helping that business perform better and compete better. So we're going to see a lot of middleware integrations that will start to integrate in very cool ways what your different tools can do. There's maybe some idea where you have a knowledge base, and you want to be able to deep dive into solving a problem for a potential customer.
Right.
Can the AI actually get to a point where it can cross-reference all the material,
Right.
pull back the appropriate answer,
Mhm.
right? That's a bit deeper than just a typical chatbot,
Mhm.
and it's something that's possible. But maybe you can integrate, your procurement system with your legal system, and have a way of vetting out and clarifying contractual agreements and statements, and flagging things that need to be addressed manually. But you can do so in a way that really mitigates the amount of back and forth in time.
Mhm.
There's a myriad of different things, more in our space, IoT integration to automate, how we generate these field tickets and validate driver certifications and whatnot. So
Right.
a lot of cool stuff there. And of course, another one is cloud-based infrastructures and storage. If your IT manager is suggesting that they want to build a new data center, then you need to find a new IT manager at this point. You are not going to create an IT data center that is more secure than you will get within the cloud, within Oz, AWS, or Azure. It's not going to happen. Sorry. And so, yes, you have more traffic that comes by that network as a whole. But with what you can do on the cloud side, you can make that as secure as you can possibly get. And people tend to forget, they see a sensational news blurb that says, hey, there was a hack, and an AWS service was compromised. Well, the amount of effort that it took to do that is tenfold than what it would take to do the exact same thing with your own personal data center. Not to mention the cost. Oh my God, the cost of running these data centers are unbelievable. So yeah, to be competitive, and really to take advantage of everything that the cloud offers is a smart move, I think, for most businesses. I know that there's data sovereignty issues with some companies and things like that. So obviously it has to be taken into consideration. But largely, I think that's a key bit. The final thing, and this strikes close to home for Payload as well, is system-to-system automation. Now, what I mean by this is, I think the biggest opportunity ahead for companies, and this applies to Payload and our customers, is largely predicated around system-to-system type integrations that help create a technology ecosystem within the customer's environment, and helps them leverage all of their software systems to maximum effect in a congruous and in a synergistic way. So, for instance, a lot of companies are still using these best of breed applications, which I think is the future, and it will continue to be. But these best of breed applications often use file drops or manual touch points. Like you go into your accounting system, you have to do an export in order to get that data to bring it up into your ERP and reconcile it or something crazy like that. Or you have to export that and then import it. Maybe you have a developer in-house who's written scripts to automate all of this, right? Things like that. And it just creates a lot of fragility in the overall technology stack of a company. So that's obvious, but what's maybe not so obvious is there are solutions out there which are helping address that. And as an example, Payload, we have what we call the data sharing product. So when we work with our customers, if you are on our pro tier or above, then you get this as part of the package. But for a lot of our smaller customers, they opt to add this to their package. And what it is a cloud-based. We use Snowflake in the background. We use a full cloud-based data warehouse, and it enables your BI team, your developers, to directly access your secured bubble of data. And you can use that as part of your full data lake ecosystem, or you can ingest it and make it part of your data warehouse. You can report directly against it. You don't even have to store it. It's right there. We've got it for you, and you can do it in real time, super high performance. So that means if you need to get exports of your field tickets nightly, instead of having to set up an FTP or SFTP server and do file drops and export CSVs to do that, and then write the code to import it and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's now pretty easy. All you do is you make a database connection to your slice of it through the data share, and you pull it in. Done. It couldn't be easier. So I think that those types of pieces are important to how we're going to progress as a technology and business community in the years ahead.
Right, great. Chris, thank you for elaborating those pieces and taking up time to discuss with us in terms of what your knowledge about how Calgary is going to evolve with the future tech emerging trends. I also want to congratulate you on your new role with Payload. So, with your new assignment as the CEO of Payload, where do you see Payload going? What do you envision for Payload in 2021? And as for you, what kind of struggles did you face in 2020 because of COVID?
Yeah, some really good questions. So first of all, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'm very thankful to Dave Workland and the Workland Family Office for the opportunity they presented me with. The whole group has been very supportive and very generous. Now, as to your question, what do I envision for Payload in the future coming up? Well, we've talked a little bit about it, but let me lift the hood a little bit. And I think, before we do that, we need to look at the present, but we also need to understand the vision. So we need to stitch together this holistic view of where we've been and where we're going. And we need to do that because we need to understand why we're going there. And in order to create a vision that addresses the key concerns of our customers and creates the best solutions for them, we have to have a good understanding of their business and where they've been. And at Payload, we have people who literally worked in all of the roles that we've engaged our customers in. So whether you're a producer or a vendor, or as I call a receiver disposal type site, all of these what we call user personas, all of these different personas, we have people in-house who understand at a very intimate level what's involved in every step of the way. So now that we've had that for a while, what my focus really is taking all that in-house experience and really starting to change the game. Instead of Payload focusing so heavily on the digitization component, we're really stepping out in front and being leaders and helping change things, change it up, but do so in a way that is still compatible with how people do business today. One of the key things for Payload that I want to see is a holistic platform, a platform that's open to these different personas in their industries to integrate to. I want Payload to be that platform that bridges all these personas together. And it really becomes like a highway, if you will, or an operating system, if that analogy works better. And by doing so, what we hope to do is to work with the different folks in the industry, and enable them to do things better, enable them to gain the benefits of all the innovations around them. A lot of our competitors, and one of the decisions I had to make for Payload was, do we compete directly with some of our competitors, or do we go another direction? And I felt going another direction is the way for us to head. And the reason is because I think people have missed the boat. I think they've missed the whole point. A lot of what we see out there are businesses trying to own everything. They're greedy. They want to create a black box. And what they want to do is they want to have it almost be like your Uber, if you will, so that, the producer just says, hey, I need this moved. The service provider says, hey, I'm available. So fundamentally, Payload provides that type of functionality as well. However, the key difference between us and a lot of our competitors, and where we differentiate, is that our competitors are focused on owning that box so they can own and monetize it. And that means they bring all the revenue within it. Payload's approach is what I would call more, and I'm using engineering terms here, so sorry, but white boxing. And the idea of white boxing is that you create a platform that's open to extension. People can see inside, right? And so the vision for Payload, one of the key strategies for us long term, is going to be centered around this Payload platform that has an open API, It has an open data integration so that you have access to, secure access, obviously, to the data of yourself, and your connected partners who wish to participate. And you can make these, but you have access to make all these better decisions based on that. But you also retain control so that, as an organization, you don't have to carte blanche drop in one solution overnight and disrupt everything. You can instead choose, okay, here's the platform. I'm going to do these two things. That's what I would like to execute on. And I will modify and digitalize or digitize my operations based on that. And then once I have confidence in that and it works within my organization, I'm going to choose the next step. And so you can incrementally build up or as far as you want to go. Now, the other key piece of that open platform is because we aren't trying to hold everything to ourselves and have this closed loop system, we're open to a lot of partners. So right now, Payload's working with 4 different partners we're talking to, and that will probably come online over the course of 2021. And all of these partners bring something different to our platform. And by doing that, we can do things like advanced invoicing with accounting system reconciliation through a partner who does it really well, as opposed to trying to write a so-so solution ourselves just to broaden our market, right? We can integrate tightly with some of the IoT type companies and device companies to actually provide full depth of information to our customers, and that aggregates back into our platform. And you can imagine any number of services that can plug into our platform with that shared revenue type model with our partners. Mm-hmm. It's an incentive for everybody. It gives the customer the best price. Right. It gives Payload the ability to grow unbounded and unrestricted. Right. And it gives our partners the opportunity to be part of that success. And it also allows service organizations to extend the platform and take it to the next level as well by integrating themselves. And the best part is that whole platform enables our own customers to customize the Payload solution to better suit them, because the reality is that no matter what solution you develop, you'll never have a silver bullet. And so instead of fighting that, we embrace it. We provide the core fundamentals for you, but we're also going to give you the tools by which you can enhance and modify that experience so that it does suit your business 100%, without having to have either a massive amount of customization that you then have to maintain, or the massive costs associated with having us do that. It becomes your platform done your way, and it really democratizes, I feel, the logistics platform industry for our producers and vendors. So that's one of the key cornerstones as we continue to evolve and grow.
That's we also amazing.
Yeah. Well, and we also have on the data side too. There's so much going on, and the last kind of piece I want to touch on is, 2020 for us was really a year of data. Like, it was really focused around that cloud data warehousing and building up those capabilities. We've now had over a year of doing this with our customers, and we've gotten very good at it. Snowflake and Sigma are really good friends of Payload, and they participated with us in helping us get our customers going, and it's some amazing results. I mean, some of the stuff we've done, we've had reports that customers wanted that would take incredibly long to run. We're talking, in some cases like 30 minutes, right? Just a huge, nothing should take that long these days. And the transformation we did, we had that one report took, like I said, just over 30 minutes. We, without making any other changes, we moved it up into Snowflake. We predicated our reporting based off our cloud data warehouse, and that same report takes 9 seconds now. So I mean, you think about that. That's crazy. I don't even know if we have a report that's ever taken more than 15 seconds anymore. It's just that fast. And as a customer for Payload and integrating with us, you get access to that very same data engine and all those queries and capabilities. So that's where Payload is going.
Right, Chris. Chris, thank you so much for detailing your envision for 2021 with Payload, and we all wish you a good luck with that, and happy to help in any capacity that we all could. So, Chris, when you talked about entrepreneurship, when you talked about your journey with Calgary as an entrepreneur and also as a people person, and what you envision with Payload around it, this is my ask for the community here, Chris. We have seen much more job losses than ever before in Calgary market. So, as an industry leader, what tips would you like to give to the people who are looking for the jobs out there, or is there any skills that they need to develop to be floated in the market? Because we have a lot more job seekers here in the market than ever before.
So, I mean, yeah. Okay. Great question again. Technology is such a diverse field. It's difficult to give you a single answer to that. I have several points, and I'll try to be brief on them, but add some value. First things first, I'd like to make a call out to Robin over at Nicer. So he actually has a great mentorship platform that if you're looking to develop your skills and you really want some coaching and some help, some support from this great community we have, he's built a platform that really enables people to get in touch. I've been part of it myself. Feel free to reach out. Happy to connect with folks. But aside from that, there's a few things, and I do these talks at SATE. I've done some guest talks at U of C and the different even Comet. And I found, to me, when I talk to people, when I look at what's out there, when I see what I'm doing myself in terms of hiring, there's a few common threads. So first off, I could tell you, learn Node.js, Vue.js, Postgres, get cloud-based certification, AWS, cloud architect, stuff like that, solution architect, those things. I could give you a litany of skills like that. And you may or may not find success following that path. But what I'll tell you is more important is today's community, and we're talking about software development, product development at this point, okay? But in the SaaS companies that you're going to find, for instance, it's really not about the skills that you have so much anymore. It's really about the attitude and what a cultural fit you are, because there's a lot of intelligent people out there. And the technology today is not like it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you took a 4-year degree so you could just get started lifting the hood and be able to understand what's going on. The world today is really predicated around Lego blocks, as I like to call them, right? So when you're doing development, you're looking at middleware libraries and everything, and you just have to learn how to connect the dots. That doesn't mean that it's not complex. Doesn't mean that it's not hard to learn. But what it does mean is that once you get over that initial learning hump, which doesn't necessarily take a long time anymore, it's probably a 6 to 8 month hump, you can start to be very productive and very effective very quickly. So companies are realizing that. And so what you really need to do is have that great positive attitude. And one way to show that attitude is to participate in community projects if you can, or participate in open source projects rather. So, if like I said, so many entrepreneurs out there with an idea and they're having trouble finding people to help them. So see if you can use those networks, connect with those people. Maybe you can do some pro bono work to help them get their website or initial web app going. They will need you. They will need that support, and you will have an opportunity. Sometimes you just build that opportunity for yourself. Sometimes you can become a partner in a business, and who knows, you might be that one of the top 5 Facebook startups entrepreneurs, as opposed to that 6th guy that didn't quite make it. So I think that it's really important to be actively involved with community projects where you can look at the local entrepreneurial scene, see where you can start to build a name for yourself, build that portfolio online, make your website pop, show that you have development skills. You don't have to be an artist. Now, of course, if you're a UX UI gal and that's your thing, great. Then you can probably put together a pretty snazzy website. But if you're not, just go find someone on Fiverr and get a $20, $30, whatever single page website put up, and then put some cool stuff in it. Take the time to do that. Be visible in social media. So, when you are participating and sharing with your profile, share what you're doing. Let people know, hey, I just wrote this really cool geofenced delivery app, over the last month or whatever. I want to share that with everybody. Share it with everybody. Talk about it, because 10 to 1, there's a company out there that's like, gosh, I wish we had a developer right now that could do some geofence coding or could help us solve this problem. Right? I guarantee you, there's people out there looking for that. The trick is in connecting with them and really marketing yourself in a way that you get that airtime, right, and people can see you. So being active in those projects. You can also join teams and groups. Maybe join a startup. Maybe you feel a startup's going to go and isn't going to go anywhere, right? But if you're not doing anything else anyhow, may as well get involved and learn, because that team dynamic, that learning to use the tools, that's key. Don't rely just on certifications. I see resumes come by and pick I seek certifications, and sure, I noticed the certification, absolutely, but it very rarely has an impact on our final decision on hiring someone. It's more about, wow, this person, look what they've done. They went out. I'll be talking to Alex, my right hand on the technology side, and we'll be looking at a resume. And I remember one time we're looking at Dart Flutter for our technology stack for doing a mobile app, and just saw this gal had put together this incredible demo, and it was just a cool little game, right? Sudoku style game, right? And but the way she put it together, it was really cool, and it gave us confidence that this individual could hit the ground running and help us solve this problem. And so that was key to that individual being hired, and they're working with us today. Um, UI UX, very important. I think that the reality today is that in the old day, UX and UI was considered kind of a second class citizen. We've got important things to do. We need to make this functional. We can make it pretty later, right? It's the other way now. I would say it's flipped 180, where now the user experience is king. And that's something that people really need to be aware of when you're building your skill set. So I would really encourage folks to, especially if you're looking to be a developer, focus more on being a full stack developer as opposed to server side only. I think you need to have that breadth of skill set and capability, and having that will give you many more options. It's probably true 15 years ago, you could be a server-side developer only and gain a lot of traction. In fact, for myself, that's largely what I was in my early days, and I had a lot of success being a server-side developer, being focused on server-side and integrations. But like I said, now things have changed quite a bit, and I think that having that UI UX mindset and being able to think about the usability of products and do quick mock-ups and show stuff visually, that's visually appealing, has a huge impact and opens up a lot of opportunities, especially with startups.
Right.
So yeah, have that portfolio, show what you can do, engage in the community, do some stuff, and then the rest will follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Like what you said about mentoring, networking, and keep building, keep showcasing what you want. And leaders like you are always there to guide them, to help them. So thank you so much, Chris, for sharing those tips to the people out there who are looking for the jobs. And Chris, if people want to find you or want to seek some advice from you, where they could find you or where they could connect with you.
Well, the probably the first place, LinkedIn, payload.com, our website, or like I said, nicer. Those are probably the three areas to find, three places rather, to find me the easiest.
Thank you, Chris. Now, Chris, this is the favorite part of my show. The reason why we started this show is to talk to leaders like you. So, my question to you is, what is the impact? What is the legacy that you want to create and you want to leave behind? What is the impact that Chris wants to create in the community, in the tech community out here in Calgary?
Really, for me, the legacy I want to leave the older I get, the more I realize that a lot of the things I held as valuable when I was younger seem to be less important the older I get. And I don't think that that's just skewed from age. I think it's partially from learning empathy and learning, gaining a lot of wisdom in interacting with people. What I what I really want to leave is the world a better place than when I started, where I can, and I have no illusions that I'm going to be able to be like a Superman that changes the world overnight. I don't need to. All I really need to do is help the people around me, and that means my family, my extended family, my community in Cochrane and in Calgary, and by extension Alberta, to build better lives for our children. And the way we do that is by dealing with the hand we're dealt. I'm not going to whine about where we are or what's going on. All I can really do is pick up the pieces and find a better way forward. I think that as Calgarians, we have a unique perspective of the world. I think that that perspective is largely a go-getter and success seeking rather, uh, type of perspective and attitude. I think that we should leverage that to help those around us get on their feet, and we need to stand up as leaders within our communities and businesses to make things go forward and make things happen. And that's the legacy I want to leave for behind, is just help make the world a little bit better place. Clean up my mess in the kitchen, so to speak, and hopefully add something to the experience so that the next generation has the opportunities that we had and can take this to the next level. That way I can be in retirement and see really cool stuff like Mars terraforming and great new video games being created. Love the sounds of that.
That's very powerful, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing that. Chris, before we close the show, do you have anything that you want to share or you want to talk to our audience out there? Anything that you wanna say to people out there?
Yeah, I really want to share that Payload is a company that's really progressing now. We're making waves. Things are happening so fast. We have a TDG paperless product, which is going to be compatible with Transport Canada and their mandates for paperless TDG in transport. So really cool. It's going to work for the obviously the eManifest users in our system. It's already included in the eManifest product. If you're using that product already, if you're not, I'd highly recommend you do get in now while the getting's good. The prices are really good. Currently, obviously, we still have our COVID pricing going on. So TDG paperless is great. We have geofencing's being released coming up over the next few months. We're going to be releasing not just cheesy geofencing with little circles and stuff, but corridor based and polygon based. So really exciting stuff that all integrates into this larger ecosystem, like I said, so you can start to integrate it to determine ETAs and pickups and what's going on, warnings about driver being idle in an area for too long. All these sorts of applications, you can ingest that data through our data share directly into your data lake and data warehouse. And we are all here to help you do that. You don't need to be hiring massive consulting groups or expensive companies that come in and do the integration. We can help you handle that on your own. And if you prefer to have those consulting groups help you, we can work with them. So it's really exciting. Our eManifest product has gone through a complete refresh. It's looking better than it ever has. It's performing way better than we've ever seen it before. So that's been a huge win for us within the organization. In between that and the TDG paperless and the geofencing coming up, it's been a real win-win-win for Payload. So definitely encourage companies, reach out, talk to us. We can show you how we can help you save huge amounts of money, pain, headache, and help you be a more competitive company in the end.
Absolutely, Chris. And I must say, under the leadership of Chris, Payload is gonna be the sky is gonna be the limit. So thank you so much, Chris. Every time I speak with you, it's so much informative. The energy that you bring to the platform is just incredible. So we all want to wish you all the very best for your new adventure and keep us connected, keep Calgary growing and being awesome every day. So
Well,
thank you.
that's the message of thank you, Shivi. Thank you very much. And the feeling is reciprocated. I've always had a great time speaking with you. I think that really you represent that enthusiasm and optimism that we all need in this market, especially in this day and age. So thanks for doing what you do and sharing with all the people in Calgary, Alberta, and beyond. And the real message here is go Team Alberta. Let's pull it together and let's help each other succeed. And Payload is in the Work and Family Office are in the forefront for doing exactly that. So thank you very much.
Hey everyone, that was Chris Lambert on the Startup Impact Show, CEO of Payload. He's one of the technology leader in Calgary. And if you are a job seeker or an entrepreneur in the tech space, do watch our show, like, subscribe, share. And if there is anything that we can do to support you, do not shy away in asking. Have a beautiful day ahead. Thank you.